Confession is a powerful tool, as it opens up the heart and allows us to share our deepest, most vulnerable truths. It's often in these confessions that we find the strength to heal or discover what truly matters. If you enjoy these emotional stories, don't forget to subscribe for more heart-touching tales. I finally told him I loved him, but his response shattered everything I thought I knew about love and friendship. When I first met Samir, I never thought he'd become my best friend. We were both new to college, fresh-faced and eager to make our mark in a world that seemed both exciting and overwhelming. From the first day we met in the dorm cafeteria, we clicked instantly. It felt like we had known each other for years, and before long, we were inseparable. He had this way of making everything feel okay, even on the toughest days. Whether it was helping me with assignments or sitting in silence while we both scrolled through our phones, Samir had a calmness about him that made me feel safe. But as time went on, something changed within me. I found myself drawn to him in ways I didn't fully understand, that I couldn't pinpoint when it started. But the connection we shared began to feel different. Every time he laughed, my heart raced a little faster. When he touched my arm casually or stood too close, I felt a jolt of electricity. I tried to ignore it, chalking it up to the excitement of being in a new place, but deep down, I knew something was shifting. I was falling for my best friend. The worst part? I didn't know how to tell him. I feared that if I said anything, I would ruin our friendship. Samir had never given me any indication that he might feel the same. He talked about other girls, joked about relationships, and never once mentioned anything that made me think he could be interested in me in that way. I convinced myself that my feelings were just a fleeting crush, nothing more than a phase. But every time we spent time together, my feelings grew stronger, more undeniable. It was like trying to keep a dam from breaking. It was impossible. I found myself daydreaming about what it would be like to hold his hand, to kiss him, to be with him. The thought terrified me, but it also filled me with longing. I didn't want to keep living in this constant state of uncertainty. I had to tell him. I had to know if there was a chance for us. One night, after a long day of studying and hanging out in our favorite spot by the campus lake, I decided it was time. The cool breeze made everything feel more intimate, the stars above us almost like a silent witness to what I was about to do. Samir and I sat on the grass, shoulders brushing as we stared out at the water. "Samir," I said, my voice trembling despite my best efforts to sound casual. He turned to look at me, his brown eyes warm and curious. "Yeah, I need to tell you something," I continued, my heart pounding. "Something I've been thinking about for a while." He raised an eyebrow, clearly interested. "What is it?" I took a deep breath. This was it. No turning back. "I think I'm in love with you." The words hung in the air between us, heavy and real. For a moment, there was complete silence. Samir just stared at me, his face unreadable. I couldn't tell if he was shocked, confused, or if he felt the same way. I wanted to take it back, but there was no going back now. I know this might come as a surprise," I added quickly, panic rising in my chest. "I didn't plan on it, but it's how I feel. And I had to tell you. I can't keep pretending." Samir blinked, looking down at his hands for a moment before meeting my gaze. His expression was serious, almost as if he were weighing something in his mind. My stomach twisted. This wasn't going the way I had hoped. I don't know what to say," he said, his voice gentle, almost apologetic. My heart dropped. It was as if I had been hit by a truck, the force of his response knocking the wind out of me. I had prepared myself for rejection, but hearing those words felt like an avalanche. I had expected him to laugh it off, to joke about how silly I was for feeling that way. But this uncertainty, this hesitation, was something I hadn't prepared for. "Samir, please," I whispered, my voice cracking. "I just need to know how you feel. I can't keep hiding this." He took a deep breath and let out a slow sigh. "I think I need to be honest with you, too." My heart skipped a beat. I leaned forward, desperate for him to say something that would make all this pain go away. But what he said next would change everything. I'm gay." The words hit me like a slap in the face. I was so stunned, so overwhelmed by the shock of it, that for a moment, I couldn't speak. Samir's eyes were fixed on me, his face filled with a mixture of sadness and fear, as if he was waiting for me to react. But I didn't know how. I just sat there, frozen, struggling to comprehend what he had just said. You're gay, I finally managed to whisper. Samir nodded, his eyes never leaving mine. Yeah, I've known for a long time. I've been struggling with it, to be honest. I didn't want to hurt you. I felt a strange mix of emotions wash over me. Relief, confusion, and an unexpected wave of sadness. I had told him I loved him, but in return, he had given me the one thing I wasn't expecting. A truth that neither of us could ignore. I never knew, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Samir, I know, he interrupted softly. I never wanted you to feel like this. I thought I could handle it without telling you, but it's been eating me up inside. I'm sorry if this hurts you. The pain I felt wasn't because of what he had told me, but because of how much I cared for him. How much I wanted to be with him in a way that wasn't possible. My feelings for him hadn't changed, but now I had to face the truth. He could never be mine in the way I had hoped. I don't know what to say. I confessed, tears beginning to well up in my eyes. I never imagined it would be this way. I didn't either, Samir replied softly. But I hope this doesn't change our friendship. You mean so much to me. For the next few days, I struggled to come to terms with what had happened. Samir and I continued to hang out, but the dynamic between us felt different. There was an awkwardness that lingered, a tension I couldn't shake. I still loved him, but I also respected his truth. How could I reconcile these two feelings? There were moments when I wanted to push him away, to stop spending time with him because it hurt too much. But there were other moments when I just needed him, when I could see him and feel the warmth of his presence. And I knew that I couldn't just walk away from him. That we spent a lot of time talking about his journey, about his struggles with coming to terms with his sexuality. And I realized just how much pain he had carried all this time. Samir hadn't just been hiding his feelings from me. He had been hiding them from himself, too. I wanted to be the person who helped him, who supported him through it all. But at the same time, I couldn't help but wish things were different. That he could love me the way I loved him. As the days passed, I began to come to terms with the new reality. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when I felt like my heart might break all over again. But slowly, I started to understand that Samir's love for me was never going to be the kind of love I had imagined. That kind of love was something I could only dream about, but it didn't mean he didn't care about me. Samir remained my best friend, and in the days that followed, we found new ways to navigate our friendship. The first few weeks were difficult. Sometimes I caught myself staring at him, feeling that familiar pull, that longing to hold him, kiss him, be with him. But every time those feelings surfaced, I reminded myself of the reality. Samir and I could never be together in that way. Instead of focusing on what we couldn't have, I began to cherish what we still shared. Our friendship was something rare and beautiful, and it was enough. Samir would share stories about his struggles with his family, his fears about coming out, and how he was learning to be true to himself. I saw the courage in his eyes, the quiet strength he possessed. Over time, I became one of the few people he trusted enough to share these parts of himself with, and though it was hard, I couldn't help but feel honored. Thank you for not making this weird, he told me one night, after another long conversation about his journey. You don't know how much that means to me. I smiled at him, though there was a bittersweet ache in my chest. Of course, Samir, I'm not going anywhere. And it was true. I wasn't going anywhere. We were still friends, and that was enough. The healing process wasn't linear. Some days, I still felt the sting of what could never be. But as time went on, I started to focus more on my own growth. I realized that I had spent so much time pining after something that was never going to happen, that I had neglected other aspects of my life. I threw myself into my studies, my passions, and slowly, my heart began to heal. But healing didn't mean forgetting. Samir and I still spent countless hours together, laughing, talking, and supporting each other through life's challenges. He was still the person who knew me better than anyone else, and though our relationship had changed, the foundation of our friendship remained unshaken. One day, a few months later, we sat together on the same grassy hill by the lake, where it had all begun. The air was crisp, the stars above us sparkling, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel the weight of longing in my chest. I think I finally get it, I said. Looking up at the stars, Samir turned to me, his expression soft, patient. Get what? Everything, I replied, taking a deep breath. I get that you and I, We were never meant to be anything more than what we are now. I'm okay with that. I'm happy with it. Samir smiled, his eyes reflecting the same peace that had settled in my heart. I'm glad to hear you say that. It wasn't a grand revelation. There was no dramatic moment, no sweeping gesture to mark the end of this chapter in our lives. It was just the quiet understanding that had come over me. Love wasn't always about romantic feelings. Sometimes it was about accepting someone for who they are, supporting them through their struggles, and being there for them no matter what. I'll always be here for you, I said, my voice firm with conviction. And I'll always be here for you, Samir replied, his voice equally steady. That night, as we sat side by side, watching the world unfold around us, I realized something profound. Love was never just about wanting someone. It was about knowing when to let go, when to accept, and when to celebrate the bond that was already there. Our love wasn't the type that I had initially hoped for, but it was real, it was pure, and it was more than enough. If you found this story moving, don't forget to subscribe for more heart-wrenching tales from Tears and Truth.